man. I was at the Fort Wayne show for the SOiL and Union Underground tour. So I was able to catch some
Oh,
of that tour and up at Pierre's and
okay.
yeah,
Right, right.
that's a show I was looking forward to for a while. So you guys,
Yeah, it's been a long time since since we got to experience Union Underground. So it was a very cool to be a part of that.
yeah. And I want to get into that tour a little bit, but before we do that, man, you're out with Drowning Pool now. Snafu Le Tour, you guys, Saliva, right now above Snakes, I think is no, they're on the Indianapolis date, but lots of
Any
different
given sin on
lineups
that.
for this tour,
Yeah.
man. Lots of different lineups.
Yeah. The first leg of it last year was Saliva or Drowning Pool Saliva, Any Given Sin, and Adelita's Way. The leg that
Yes.
we're on right now is Saliva, Drowning Pool, and Any Given Sin. And then third leg of it is Drowning Pool Saliva and Above Snakes. Yes.
Yes. And when you guys hit Indianapolis, you'll have Alien Ant Farm on that show with you guys as well. So,
Yeah, they're doing the first two, I think. The first two of
yeah.
that third run they're jumping on with all of us.
This tour
Just to
really
make it
kind of
more of a chaotic day.
I know, right? It really has a feel like another Back to the 2000s tour, another throwback tour, throwback bands, my childhood to a T. Is that how you feel right now? Because you just did the Back to the 2000s tour with Union and Raw and Flawed. Now you're out again with some throwback bands.
Yeah, I don't know. That was that it's a little different, I guess, in my head because I mean, it is like, yeah, you're absolutely right on the you hitting the nail right on the head as far as it's bands all from that throwback era.
Yeah.
But it's in my head, or at least I should say in my heart. It's a little different in the aspect that uh, return to the 2000s or whatever that was called. You had Union, who hasn't done anything since that
That record.
original album.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then SOiL hasn't put anything out in a coon's age since like 2012 or something like that. And I don't, I'm not really aware of Raw and Flaws. I just like the people.
Right.
I'm really bad at keeping up on the industry,
Yeah.
but whereas with this one, Saliva is still kicking out new music. We're still kicking out new music.
Hmm.
So yeah, dude, I'm 117 years old. I'm always sensitive to 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 too much of the throwback type conversation.
Man, and for me,
I start
like,
counting the white hairs in my beard when that.
okay, I tried to do that the other day and I had to give up because I got depressed. So, so
Oh yeah, the white's taking over. I'm just like, my wife's like, you gonna call her that, right? I was like, no, I earned every one of these things. I'm not calling her
I heard that from CM Punk in an interview recently. He's like, no, I earned these gray hairs and I'm keeping
that. Yeah,
them.
hell
God
yeah,
damn it, yeah.
yeah.
With all the
I remember,
bullshit.
I remember every prick in the music industry that got me one of these.
Yes, exactly. All of the bullshit. There's one hair for every bullshit you had to put up with. So,
Right, right. Every
um,
time my kid did something, one of my sons did something that made my
oh
heart
God.
skip. That's another one right there.
Oh God,
Yeah.
yeah. Ain't that the fucking truth?
Oh
You
yeah.
hit the nail on the head though. This tour is a little bit different. The 2000s tour, feel like for the majority of the show, it was the bands went on, played the hits, played the songs everybody knows, and then it was changeover. With this one, you guys are all releasing new music consistently. Saliva just had a record last year with a bunch of hits on Octane. Drowning Pool,
Yeah.
you guys just released a record. Well, the band just released a record last year. I heard you guys might be working on new
Band just
music at
released a
some
record.
point. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
we actually in between the 2000s tour that you mentioned and
yeah.
the tour we're currently doing, or the Chronicles currently doing, we spent there was no break there. At
Mhm.
the day after that last show of the 2000s tour, I jumped on an airplane, flew down to Dallas, and we were in the studio just hammering these new songs we've been writing, because we've been writing like crazy since we all got back. It's just kind of lit a spark underneath everybody's ass. We're all just having fun with it again, and it's gotten the creative juices flowing, and we're just enjoying, enjoying writing and creating together again. So so Drowning Pool back in the studio, and we'll go have new music out to everybody this year. So
Yes, I love that. What was the deciding factor to go back to the band? I mean, I know Jason left the band, but you're full time was SOiL. First time around, you were not going to be with SOiL anymore, just full time with Drowning Pool. Now you're double duty. And like you said, you're fucking exhausted right now, and you just started a tour. What made you decide to do both bands full time and go back to Drowning Pool?
um it was when the opportunity came about, it was just a no-brainer. I mean, if you go back to 2005, quit I quit SOiL in 2004, like you mentioned, and I was out of music. I didn't want anything to do with it. There was a bunch of different opportunities that came about that I was so burnt out with I'm a small town Indiana boy, man, at heart.
Yeah.
And the bullshit that you got to put up with in this industry, and the two-faced, backwards talking people that you have to deal with. And I just don't mean this industry. That's business in general. But for me, I wasn't used to it. I wasn't familiar with it, and I didn't have the stomach for it. And so it got the better of me. It was time for me to walk away. And so when different opportunities came about, different labels wanted me to write with this band or that band, help some of their baby bands out as far as writing and stuff goes, I just didn't have it in me. And different opportunities to sing for other bands and stuff, and I walked off the face of the earth. I just didn't want anything to do with it. And it was, these guys are the only guys that would have, like, did. I mean, they did bring me back into the industry. They're the only ones that I would have considered doing it with, because Dave and I were friends, and me and these guys were friends. They were like my favorite group of guys to run into on the road, like at the festivals or do shows with or something like that. These were like anytime that I got to spend some time with Stevie, Mike, and CJ and Dave, it was like my highlight of the road. So they really were the only people that kind of pulled my head out of that retirement phase. And so just like then, my point being is, just like then, when this opportunity came to be back with the guys again, it was an absolute, like, yeah, I'll figure the other shit out tomorrow. But yeah,
Right.
And, the first conversation was just messaging back and forth, and it was like, would you be interested in doing some reunion shows? And I was like, yeah, like I said immediately, yeah. Like, I don't give a shit what you're talking about, but yeah, I'm interested. And
Right.
And like a few days later, oh shit, what do I do? A few days later, the manager at the time called me. Yeah, you're back in. Not the same. No, anyway, it was just a no brainer for me. Like I said, it was like back to 2005 again. It was like just immediately, yeah. I was more, because I was so burnt back in the early days that there was probably a little bit more. It wasn't until Dave's mom actually called me back then and was like, kind of gave me that green light, that I was like, yeah. Whereas this time it was like, hey, would you be interested? Like, before Stevie finished the sentence, I think I was like, yeah.
Nice. Is there anything different as far as when you came into the band the first time and when you returned to the band, just as far as the atmosphere within the camp, within the band, maybe to pull the curtain back a little bit? Is it different at all? When you came in the
Sure.
first time, they really were needing a consistency in the front man position. They've had a lot of changeover. They needed some consistency. And then this time around, you're coming in after Jason had done 3 records and coming back in. Is there anything different this time around?
Absolutely. I mean, it's, if you rewind to 2011 or whenever it was that we took our break,
Right.
that's exactly the conversation that was had. That was a conversation between CJ and I. it was kind of like, I feel like you're getting a little burnt. Yeah, I'm getting a little burnt. Yeah, we are, we're feeling this, we're feeling that, different ones feeling the same kind of grind that'd been on us. And it was like, maybe we should just take a break for a little bit, just kind of walk away, take a little break away from everything. Cause, and we toured like dogs.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, 12 years later, we're getting back together. It's like, wow, that break was a lot longer than anybody anticipated. But
Yeah.
everybody's changed to a degree, because I mean, you're talking 12 years. You're talking 12 years of life, 12 years of experience, 12 years of just being in a different place in each individual's lives. So everybody's changed. I know I have. I know that I have big time. The shit these guys put up with from me back in the day, man. I've said it from day one since we did part ways. They put up with a lot more from me than I ever put up with from them. So I know that I've changed a lot since back then, and everybody has. So like I said, it's 12 years of living that everybody has experienced. There's different kids involved now. Everybody's got, I've got a stepson that I didn't have back then. They've all got actual children that they didn't have back in
Wow.
the. So I mean, everybody's lives has changed in big ways, as far as just living, as far as being a human being and being alive. And that reflects how you handle your business, and reflects how you
Yes.
handle, and not just that, but you're talking the fact that we're all 12 years older. So,
Yeah.
we can't be as stupid as we were once. So
Your bodies can't
so yeah,
handle it being
everybody
as stupid
no,
anymore.
it reminds you real quick that you ain't the same dude no more.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
no, so yeah, everybody's handling it. And I think it's interesting that you asked that question, because just having just come out of pre-production with the guys, it's the first time that I've experienced. It's the first opportunity to experience back to writing with these guys again, and I always loved. I've said my favorite album I've ever been a part of is the self-titled Drowning Pool, and so just I always loved the music that we did together.
Yeah.
But the dynamic, or not necessarily, they're not dynamic, but there are things even in that regard that are different now, and everybody's gotten more comfortable. But it has to do with what I was saying, as far as just the years that have gone by. Different people have gotten more comfortable sharing, and if I rewound to 2012, I don't, we all had a hand in everything that we did. We all had a hand in the creating and the arranging and every aspect of the songs. Excuse me. But this time around, it seemed like it was even more so. This time around, it was, I mean, Stevie Benton, that dude is a wordsmith. I've always been the majority writer when it comes to
Sure.
lyrics and stuff, and
Sure.
everything that I've done in my career. Solely with SOiL, and a good majority with Drowning Pool. But I never realized that dude he ain't that dude is a wordsmith.
Yeah.
So I've enjoyed seeing I've enjoyed experiencing the fact that from the last time that I've worked with these guys, that they've also, even though not once did I ever think they needed to, but they've grown in certain ways, and gotten, or I should say, gotten more comfortable sharing in different ways. And so just experiencing that this time around, it's got me even more excited about the music that we're continuing to write together.
But Feel Like I
Like,
Do is still one of my all-time favorites that you did with
oh,
the
thank you.
band. Yeah, that album, like you
Thank you.
said, was so good. Like, so good.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I did not mean to cut you off, by the way. I am so sorry. I did not mean to cut you
Oh
off.
no, you have to, dude. You will ask me one question, and 3 hours later you'll be like, dude, really, man? You veered. It's like that what was that movie with Chevy Chase? Where it's like he's a novelist, and she's like reading, his wife's reading his book, and
Oh God.
he's
Yes.
like, what do you think? She starts crying. Yeah, she starts crying. She's like, at what by the third chapter, I counted 10 flashbacks, 15 flash forwards, and at one point, I think you flashed sideways. So that's pretty much me doing an interview. I talked my ass off. I apologize.
No, and that's fine. I want to ask you a question. I want to touch on something that you mentioned that, man, I don't know if you've been asked this before. Probably not, but if so, that's fine. What has it been like watching these guys as fathers for the first time and seeing that be a dynamic? Because, like you said, they weren't
Well,
dads the first time around.
well, they were, but well, some of them were like Stevie. Hell, Stevie's son back in the day. He was in your older teens, so he actually came
Oh,
out,
my bad.
with
Okay.
Merch Force like a couple of different times. And
Okay. I
but
misunderstood
since
you.
then,
Okay.
oh no, since then they've become like new fathers. They've had
Oh,
children, they've had more children since.
oh, gotcha.
But
Okay.
Mikey, our drummer, he during that time he had his first and only, and CJ has a litter about every 5 years.
That's crazy. I've got
No,
2-year-old twins,
so,
so yeah.
oh wow,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a thing.
you juggle much?
Ooh, man. They turn 3 next month, and good Jesus fucking Christ, it gets crazy. Like, dude. And our daughter just turned 12, so you can imagine what this household is like. A 12-year-old and then 2-year, like, fuck.
Yeah,
Like, so yeah, it's
no.
crazy, man.
My kids are 26 and 21, and then
Oh damn.
my stepson now is 11.
Oh
So
wow.
so
Oh,
that poor guy, that poor little English little little Oliver Twist. That poor kid. I've been there, done that, seen it over and over again. Like I said, my kids are 26, 21.
yeah.
In between raising my kids, I also was in a couple different relationships before my current marriage, where I had a hand in raising their younger kids. So I've seen it all. I've heard all the bullshit. I know what. Okay, you're 8 right now. That means you're going to be trying to get away with this, that, and the other. That. So Ocean, my stepson now, that poor guy, man. He's an awesome kid. And just a good friend, just an awesome kid, man. And I take that back. I don't even like that coming out of my mouth. I think that's a problem. I think society has in a whole is that people are too busy raising friends and not kids. They don't know the difference. But
Yes.
the
Thank you.
but the you see it in the supermarket every the that poor kid, man. He don't get away with nothing because I've been there. And, like my
Yeah.
wife one time, my I live in England, lived there the last
Yeah.
6 years, and my wife's English, and wife's half English, half French. And so at one point in time early on, she's like, "I feel like you're harder on Ocean than what you were with your own kids." And then the first time that she really got to spend time with my boys, she was like, "I take it back. You don't take any shit from anybody, any of the kids. Never mind. Yeah, yeah. My parenting skills is like Red. I figured that I'm like Red Foreman of the '70s show.
Yes.
How about my foot up
Yeah.
your ass? I was going to do, like,
Yes. I tell our daughter all the time when she complains or whatever, I'm like, I'm not your friend, I'm your dad. Like, just fucking do it. Just please. Just like I'm not here to be your friend. I'm your dad. Like, and
right.
we'll get
That's our
along,
job, man. Our
you
job.
know.
Our job is to raise those kids so they are ready to take on the world,
Yes.
not so they're thinking the world's going to lay down in front of them.
Oh God, man, when we before we had our twins, I was doing an interview, I think with Michael Sweet, and we only had our one daughter, our oldest at the time. I'm like, man, I shudder to think of what it would be like to raise children now. And now we're raising children now, and it's so much harder now than it was even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, Kids are just so different now. Like it's insane.
I,
Like it's so hard.
if I had to do it again in the States, I don't know what the fuck I'd do, man, because society sucks. I'm, I mean, if you're familiar with Drowning Pool, you know how much we all care about the United States and the
Yes.
military and how
Yeah.
close we are with all of that. And, I'll always say, man, I bleed red, white, and blue. But what this country, the version of this country that it exists right now is a shadow. I don't recognize it, man. This is not the world
Yeah.
that I grew up in.
It's
And I don't like
insane.
it, and it breaks my fucking heart. And I understand. Some people may think I'm being whatever, but say what you will. I'm sitting across the pond watching it, and it's
That's gotta be crazy.
I'm not getting fed the same bullshit news that everybody sitting here is getting fed. So
Right. You can look at it objectively from the outside, which honestly I'm really jealous of
it's
because like,
it's
yeah,
heartbreaking, man. Heartbreaking.
yeah, it's dude, it's heartbreaking being here sometimes, you
It's
know?
heartbreaking, and sometimes I hate to say this because people are definitely sometimes it's fucking embarrassing, man.
Hmm.
When
Yeah.
you live in a foreign country, man, and people want to talk politics with you, and you're just like, please don't,
Yeah.
just don't.
Yes. Yep. I see. I don't get into politics at all. My stepdad, I live in Indiana. My entire family lives in Iowa. Thank God there's that separation because when I hear about all the drama going on at home just with family, I'm like, I ain't there. I'm on the outside. I am separated. I don't have to deal with it. But like politically different ends of the spectrum between me and certain, and it's just like, please don't bring it up. Please don't. I
Right.
don't want to talk about it. It's just not going to go well.
Well, it's
Um,
the old saying, you never talk politics and religion in a bar. It's
Yes, same thing. Opposite ends of the spectrum with religion as well. My stepdad's a pastor, and it's weird. So
yeah. My mom's side of the family had more ministers than they had fucking shoot. I think, yeah.
it's very hard. When we go visit in Iowa, we leave on Saturday night or Sunday morning so that we avoid that whole conversation. And it's not an option. So, you
Nice,
know,
nice.
man, but you're in Illinois right now. The tour just kicked off. I think
Yeah,
yesterday was the first show of the tour. What
yeah.
is the guy?
Yesterday in Joliet,
I
and
can
then today's
imagine.
Belvedere.
So I can imagine how crazy these shows have got to be, especially with the dudes from Saliva having multiple hits from their last record. You guys have a new record out you guys released last year. Are you guys playing any of the stuff from Strike and Nerve on this run?
We're not at this point,
Okay.
but
I
we are
wondered.
adding. Uh, Basically, when we got back together, we literally had 2 weeks before the first show.
Hmm.
So I hadn't sang a lot of this. Well, I hadn't sang any of this stuff in 12, 13 years. And some of it
Right.
even because there was actually a Dave track from the Center album that we never did, that the band hadn't even played since since Dave was with them.
I can
A song
understand
called
that.
Mute.
Hmm.
And and I as I was listening to all the old songs kind of that I used to do, kind of relearning the lyrics and everything. I was listening to Mute one time, and I was like, "Man, do you guys mind if we put Mute in the set?" And they're like, "Yeah, absolutely, that'd be cool." So anyway, um, it had been so long since any of us had played some of these songs because they hadn't played a lot of stuff from my era when Jason was in the band.
I'm sure.
So so it was kind of like we basically fell back to playing kind of the set that we did back in the day, um, because of just muscle memory.
Right.
But since then, like we spent the holidays over in overseas. We left December 23rd and got back January 3rd because we went over and we played for a bunch of the troops at different bases overseas that for the troops that couldn't go home for the holidays. That's how we spent
Oh,
our holidays. And
wow.
yeah, we definitely have some understanding wives and girlfriends.
You
But
have to. You have to.
yeah, it was but my point, we added another song in that we're going to be putting into the live set now, "Love and War" from the Jason Jones era.
Ooh.
Uh, and uh, and before we do the third leg of this tour, we're wanting to add um, a song or two from Jason Rainful fans that love all the eras, and there are some fans that have their favorite, you know. And I want to make sure that
Yes,
we pay, you know, we pay respect to the entire Drowning Pool catalog, and not just my
that's
era,
awesome.
not just Dave's era.
That's
So I want to make
awesome.
sure that when people come to the show, they're seeing their favorite songs, regardless of who the singer was at the time.
That's awesome, man. I've got to ask, and you can go as far into it or as little into it as you want, but I've got to ask just from my curiosity, when you guys reconvened in last fall for the tour with the Saliva guys, were there any conversations between the guys in Saliva and the rest of the guys in Drowning Pool on kind of how to cope with losing a band member? Did that come up at all? Or was that comforting but for therapeutic at
Not
all
that
to have? Okay,
not that I was involved in. You know, that may have been conversations that they had, being
right.
that there was more of a that would make more sense being a conversation between
Hmm.
them.
Yeah.
Um, there's nothing that I was involved in, you know, because they were like, somebody emailed me, is like, you have any ideas for the name of the tour? And this was shortly, you know, it wasn't long before or long past the point that we lost Wayne.
Yeah.
And knowing the history of and just their history of
Hmm.
members and in and out, and the drama and the bullshit that they've had, that they've endured and they've gotten through, and
Yeah.
Drowning Pool the same way. And so
Yeah.
when they asked me, it was almost kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but wasn't. When they asked me, I was like, Snafu, man, which is situation normal, all fucked up.
Hmm.
You know, because that
Yeah.
is, when you look at the history, of these two bands, the norm at times, at times and somewhat often, it seems like the norm is things are fucked up. But
Yeah.
these two bands have endured some of the craziest and shit that would bury, that has buried bands in the past. These two bands
Hmm.
have endured those things. So it just
Yeah.
made sense to me. You know, Snafu, situation normal, all fucked up.
Were you surprised when the Saliva guys were like, we're gonna go back out, we're gonna keep going, not only that, but we're gonna make music again? Like, were you surprised when that conversation happened, or were you like, yeah, and
If there was,
as you should?
that's it. If you're going to use the term surprise, I would say pleasantly surprised,
Mhm.
because I would expect it, because those guys they're musicians. They're just like us. They're just, that bug bit us at a young age, and there's no shaking it. There's no getting over it. And when you look at how long Bobby has carried the Saliva flag, he's
Yeah, he's
carried the
so
Saliva
good.
flag longer than Josie or any.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's
but he's
amazing.
carried that flag. He's carried that flag. Wayne may have been the only person that did it longer. I mean, I don't know for sure, but um,
Hmm.
no, number one, I look at it the same way that I looked at when Dave passed. And I was, you know, I was friends with the guys. I was right there. You know, SOiL was doing their thing. So I read the stuff. I read fans making comments and everything. And
Yeah,
I heard everybody speaking out on their opinion. But number one, Wayne wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He wouldn't have wanted the name to go away. He wouldn't have wanted the work that he had done, and the work that he had achieved in his career to be. Sorry. CJ just walking through, showing me Lynette. The um, Wayne wouldn't have wanted. Just like I said the same thing about Dave back in the day. Dave bled, sweat, you know, tears for that name, just like Mikey and Stevie and CJ did. Dave wouldn't have wanted it to go away. Mikey, Stevie, and CJ didn't deserve for it to go away.
no,
And I feel the same way about Saliva, you know. And then my point being is, I feel the same way about Saliva. Bobby, the work that they've been, Brad's been in the mix now for how long? And
hmm,
you know, it's, you know, and I know Brad from back in the Shinedown days. So you know,
yes,
it's
yeah,
these guys have these guys have put the fucking work in for that name, and they
Yeah.
Wayne wouldn't have wanted his legacy to be put on the back burner and forgot about tomorrow or a year from now or whatever. These guys don't deserve it to be.
Nope.
And
Yeah.
that them continuing to carry the Saliva name is also still keeping Wayne a part of the world. You know, it's keeping Wayne's legacy there, which I think is the greatest thing you can do for a fallen brother. You know.
Absolutely. Honestly, I can't think of a better band to be on the road with Saliva last fall and right now than you guys. It is absolutely perfect, man. I can't wait for the for the Indy. I can't figure out if I want to go to Fort Wayne or Indianapolis because it's two different it's two different lineups, and I want to see Alien Ant Farm, but I really want to see Any Given Sin. I know I'm going to see you guys in Saliva at either show. Because man, like talk about some of the younger bands and the opening bands on this tour. Above Snakes is killing it. Alien Ant Farm has been around forever. They have new music out. Any Given Sin is one of the hottest up and coming bands right now. A lot of people compare them to a new Shinedown, honestly.
I If you're not familiar, they deserve for you to get familiar. And I'm
Yes.
not speaking just to you, I'm speaking to anybody watching or
Mhm.
listening to this. They are some of my favorite human beings that I've shared the road with.
Oh, that's
They are
awesome.
just I've always been, and maybe it's again that small town Indiana mentality that I got still buried in me. But music that comes from people that I've enjoyed spending time with
Yes.
than I am. I if I don't if I don't dig the people as people, I could give a shit what they do. And I'm old, so I'm just going to say it the way it is, and that's just the honest
Yeah.
fucking fact of it. Is if I don't like you as a person, I could give a shit if you're the most talented
Hmm.
fucker in the world. I don't care. I'm,
Same.
I'm not going to listen to it, and it's not because I'm being a prick. It's just that I'm not. I got other things to do.
Yep.
But if you're a cool dude, man, if I've enjoyed being able to share my, having our lives fucking share moments together, if I've enjoyed those opportunities to get to know you and you're a cool, I will, I'll do all I can to help, pass the torch on, and those guys deserve it, man. Not only are they talented as fuck, but I mean, they're just super cool dudes.
That's awesome. Dude, they are it's like every single is a hit with Any Given Sin. Like everything just gets big. Like that may be the date I have to go to and drive the extra 2 hours, or maybe I'll do both. I don't know, because
But
I mean,
those guys are road dogs too, though, man. I mean,
yeah,
they're when they are beating the streets, so
yeah,
you'll definitely have a lot of opportunities. Everybody out there
yeah,
listening and watching this,
mhm,
you'll have your opportunities, and when you
yeah.
get the opportunity, definitely check them out.
Yeah, man. And obviously you touched on it. It's been 14 years since your last record was with Drowning Pool, man. New music sounds like it's on the way, man.
Yeah,
How Man, how good is that? How good is that new stuff? It's got to be good.
pretty happy with it. We'll see. We'll see.
I can't fucking wait, man. Dude, thank you for doing this today in the middle of the beginning of the tour, man.
Thank.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time, man. And, we all do what we do, and I really appreciate you taking the time and allowing the people that enjoy music and stuff a chance for us to connect with them, and and that's huge because at the end of the day, it's people like yourself, people and fans out there that you keep us connected with, that allow us to do what we do, and give us a fucking job to do at the end of the day, and they allow us to do what our passion is. So they are amazing. We owe them everything, and I appreciate you keeping us in contact with them, man.
Absolutely, man. It's a dream come true being able to do this, talking to people like you and bands like you guys that not only grew up listening to, but just that I love so much. Well, I mean, I remember watching Drowning Pool play, music on WWF, WWE, all that stuff. So to be able to connect
Right, right.
with bands like that I'm a fan of is just you guys make it worth it.